So Brene Brown uses map analogy throughout her book, and I believe this is so appropriate for our exploration of our emotions and how they influence us, how they show up in our lives, and the role they play in developing a greater and deeper understanding of ourselves. She says in the introduction to her book, "I believe that with an adventurous heart and the right maps, we can travel anywhere and never fear of losing ourselves, even when we don't know where we are." So with the right roadmap, we can actually begin to explore and understand our emotions. And we couple that with the language of the emotions, understanding naming. It's becoming more clear through the research that she's done how important it is to actually be able to speak the name of the emotions that we're experiencing, to begin to identify what it is that's really happening in our lives. She talks about 87 different emotions and experiences that are prevalent in the human experience that we have. And she groups them under the title, "The Places We Will Go." And so that's the title for tonight's talk, "The Places We Go." So for instance, she says that when we're uncertain, the places that we go to when we are uncertain can be either positive or negative. They can be things like anxiety, or they can be things like excitement. There's no determination of the value or the rightness of the emotion. These are just emotions. These are just things that we have. We can experience this sense of excitement about something that we don't know what's going to happen, or we can be sitting in the fear of it. We can be sitting in the unknown and allow that to create stress and overwhelm and anxiety in our lives. Or we can let it create awe and curiosity and wonder about what might be unfolding. She says the places that we go when we compare ourselves to others. Again, we can have the two sides of that. We can go to admiration or reverence for someone, or we can go to envy or jealousy or resentment. It just depends on how it's showing up in our lives and what's happening in the situation, who's involved in it, and how we're feeling about ourselves and about others in this time. She says that when we compare ourselves to others, that we have a tendency to go one way or the other with it. And again, it just depends on what the situation is in our life. But every moment throughout our day, we have an opportunity to choose where we go with our emotions. And again, none of these emotions are bad. It's about how we feel about them, how we react to them, and the things that we do to try to avoid them that can cause difficulties in our lives. Those ideas that we sit and we try to push away when we're feeling something that we don't really want to feel, like, for instance, anxiety. If we don't really want to feel that and we try to avoid it, then we're actually creating more of a situation in our lives than what is necessary for it to be. And this avoidance becomes a coping mechanism for dealing with anxiety. And so we repeat that pattern over and over again. We repeat it in ways that are not healthy for us to move through. There are times in our lives when we can actually do more harm by avoiding something than we do by actually facing it head on. I think of the emotion of anger. And anger, for the most part, we would try to avoid that, or try to avoid being angry, or try to avoid showing anger, or try to avoid being around someone else who's angry. But there are times when anger can be a catalyst for change. For instance, if you are angry about a situation and you speak truth about that situation, then that could actually begin to let other people see what's happening there. I think of instances of having somebody bullying you, and you speak truth to the bully will stop. 9 times out of 10, the bully will just back away because they're expecting you to cave. They're expecting you to avoid it. They're expecting you to run from it. But we take that negative emotion like anger, and then we apply it to a situation in a positive way. Then that takes the stigma of whether it's angry, whether it's good or bad, off of anger. But when we assign a judgment to it, when we assign a value to it, then that's where it becomes stuck in our bodies. That's when it becomes stuck, and when things are stuck within us, then it's hard to move through them. And so because we can't move through them, we try to avoid them. We try to push them away. We try to get them out of us. But you know, our bodies have this inherent wisdom in them. Our bodies actually know. And if we can tap into our bodies more often, then we can begin to eliminate some of those things. Early on in January, I did a meditation called soft belly meditation, which is about finding those places that are hardened within our bodies, specifically within our torso here, our belly, and beginning to soften that to allow the things to bubble up to the surface, to be released. And so as we know that if we store this stuff in our body, then that creates all kinds of problems within our body itself. Stephen Levine, who is the one that I learned the soft belly meditation from, says that almost all disease has been stored grief, stored emotions, stored anger, stored resentment, stored emotions within our body. They cause that deterioration of our cells, and of course, the mental wear and tear that having these emotions that we're avoiding is also detrimental to our health. And so if we begin to tap into the wisdom of our bodies, begin to check in with our body and see what emotions are active in each place in our body, we can begin to eliminate some of those. We can begin to get them out of our experience so much, or at least out of our body, to where they're moving freely and we're not stuck with them and they're not causing more harm than good within us. It's really interesting. It's the things that we would call good emotions don't usually get stuck. It's the ones that are the negative ones, because we're so resistant to feeling negative emotions that we just overlook them. When we don't want to deal with them, we shove them down, stomp them down, we push them in, and avoid having to deal with them. But when we have experienced what we consider good emotions, we're just joyous. We're just having fun. We're relishing in the emotion. We're allowing the emotion to move through our bodies. It doesn't get stuck anywhere. It has the ability to fully express itself within our experience. And as I said, there aren't really good or bad emotions. It's only the judgment that we apply to them that makes it cause problems within our life. If we can begin to, again, name the emotion, give it a name, let us know what it is we're feeling, honor it for what it is, give it space to be, allow it to operate to whatever degree it needs to operate to be cleared out of our experience. Sometimes we have to express these emotions to let it out. You think about grief. If we hold grief in, and we don't sit down every once in a while and just have that gut-wrenching cry that just really releases everything, what a cathartic experience that can be, to just let it out, to let out the grief, to let it out of our bodies, and to let it move through us, out of our experience, and give it a place to operate. That's honoring it. And that will help us get a clearer picture of who we are. And once we understand who we are, then we can begin to understand our relationship with the universe, with our relationship with other people, and then that begins to shift everything in our lives. Things begin to unfold in a different and generally more peaceful and ease-filled way in our lives. When we have a clear understanding of who we are and our relationship to the world, to the divine, to each other, really, that's when magic happens in our lives. That's when we can really begin to see change in our lives. And so I have a meditation that I'd like to take us through here tonight that is about tapping into the various aspects of our body and seeing what emotions are in there. We're going to tap into the body's innate wisdom, to the wisdom that is inherent within our bodies. And each section of our body has something that it wants to tell us. Each part of our body, as we move through there, we will have something come up. And sometimes you'll hit a place in your body and there's nothing there. And that's fine too. This is just a neutral place. And sometimes we get a sense of joy and excitement. And sometimes we get a feeling that's something that we want to shove down. But during this process, we're going to go through and we're going to name the experience, name the emotion that we're experiencing. And if you have a journal, a piece of paper, pencil, something to write it down with, that can be helpful. If not, I'm sure that what you need to remember, you will remember as we're moving through this. But again, being cognizant enough to tap into our bodies, to tap into that inherent wisdom, and see what wants to unfold through each one of our sections of our body. So we're going to just enter into a time of meditation here, and take a look at our bodies and see what wants to be expressed within each of us. So I just invite you to take a moment here, and you might begin with some slow breaths. I find it most helpful if I don't try to change my breathing pattern, but I just take it a little deeper, pay a little bit more attention to it. The breaths become more purposeful, and I can keep my breath as an anchor to bring myself back to what is going on in the moment when my mind starts to wander. And so it can be a really good way of keeping ourselves centered in the meditation. So we're going to do this body scan, and we're going to, throughout it, we're going to identify the feelings that are stuck, and then also identify what we need to do to release them. And again, if you have a journal handy, that would be great. You might want to jot down some notes for yourself. So I just invite you to just begin again to relax. Tapping into your breath. And just feeling it moving in and out of your body. Feel your body moving with the breath. Just allow your minds to stay relaxed. Allowing them to begin to tap into the different parts of our bodies as we're moving through there. We're going to tap into each of our body areas and ask for information. And then listen. Listen with intention. With the intention to understand and the intention to release anything that's stuck. And it's okay if nothing comes to you. And I just encourage you not to judge any emotions that come up. Not to get stuck on a particular emotion and try to figure out what that means. During the scan, we're just simply going to recognize, name, honor it, give it a place to operate, and see what we need to do to release it. And so we'll begin our scan with the top of our head. And just simply ask that your head, what emotions do I feel here? And as they occur to you, name them silently in your head. You might repeat it a couple of times. For instance, you may hear worry as your emotion. And just repeat it to yourself. Worry, worry, worry. Acknowledging it, naming it, giving it a place to simply be. And now ask yourself, what do I need to do to release this emotion? If anything comes up, you may want to jot it down, just to give yourself a reminder. And now let's move our awareness to our throat. Just take a moment and feel into your throat. And now tap into the wisdom that is inherent within the throat. And ask yourself the question, what emotion is present in my throat? And when that becomes clear, name this emotion. And repeat it a couple of times just to anchor that. Name of the emotion. And now ask the question, what do I need to do to release this emotion from my throat? Remember, we are listening with intention. And now let's move our awareness down to our chest. And allowing our consciousness to rest in our chest. Ask yourself the question, what emotion is present here for me? And when that becomes clear, name the emotion. Giving it a space to be. Just repeat that name a couple of times to yourself. Acknowledging it. And allowing it to be in your experience. And now ask yourself the question, What do I need to know to release this experience, this emotion from my chest? Now let's bring our awareness down to our gut, our stomach, our intestines, all of the various organs that are comprised within our abdomen. The gut tends to be an area of high emotional concentration. We seem to feel and sense them frequently there. So don't be surprised if more than one emotion comes up. As you ask yourself, what emotion or what emotions are stored within my gut right now? Name them. Repeat their names, allowing them to be with dignity, Now move your awareness to your legs, your knees, to your feet. What emotions are stored in my lower extremities? As emotions occur to you, accept them without judgment. Name them. Repeat the names. Allowing them to be just exactly as they are. And now ask your legs, knees, and feet, what do you need to know to release these emotions from our experience at this time? And finally, turning to our upper extremities, our shoulders, our arms, our elbows, our hands. What emotions are stored here? Again, you may hear several or none at all. But as an emotion occurs to you, just simply name it. Honor it and give it the space to operate. And now ask your upper extremities, what do I need to know to release these emotions? To have them not be stuck in my experience. Now just take a moment and give thanks to your various body parts. The different areas that we looked at. Thank them for being willing to allow the emotions that are present there to be acknowledged. It takes a great deal of courage to acknowledge what we're feeling. And even more courage to move through them to completion. And so just take in a couple of deep breaths. Knowing that you can tap into your body at any time by simply turning within and taking a few deep breaths. At every moment we have an opportunity to stay stuck in the emotional response that have been built over years and years of habitual behavior. Or we can start anew and change that. It's always our opportunity in every single situation, in every moment of the day. So I encourage you to take the time. Look at the emotions you're feeling. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Give them the space to operate. Give them a space to be in your experience. It's the only way that we can move through them. It's the only way that they will not be stuck in our experience, in our bodies, in our minds, in our consciousness, in our lives, and in our relationships with ourselves and with others. All right, so let's just take a moment and take these ideas into one of our other spiritual practices, our practice of affirmative prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment or simply treatment. But it's a way of recognizing the presence of the divine within us, unifying ourselves with it, acknowledging the truth that is, giving thanks and letting it go. So I invite you now to turn within in consciousness and join me as we open up to this affirmative prayer. So I know that right here and right now there's only one thing happening. That is the action and the activity of the divine. I know it is the creative, loving intelligence that has brought forth everything into existence. It shows up as infinite wisdom, as perfect peace, as unconditional love, as balance and harmony and joy throughout this entire universe. I know that it is infinite and abundant, that it is a continuous and eternal presence. It is the guiding and directing force of all that is. And because I know there's only this one, I know it resides within me, right at the very heart of my being. And because I know this is true for me, I know it is true for all of creation, that each one of us is that perfect, unique individualization of spirit here on earth. This is the way that which spirit experiences the world is through each and every one of us, through our hearts, our hands, our consciousness, our minds. We truly are divine beings, inseparable from the One. And so knowing this, I speak my word. I know that we are divine beings incarnate in human flesh, with human brains that operate on such a vast and wide range of emotional responses to the experiences we have in our lives. I know that each and every one of these emotions is completely and totally valid, and that each one brings an awareness with it that allows for the unfoldment of our highest and greatest good. I know that it is simply our judgment about them that makes us think one is good and one is bad. One is something we need to express and the other one is something we need to shove down and keep hidden. But I know that it is through acknowledging and giving each one of our emotions a place to operate that we are truly set free. There is a freedom that is inherent in the expression of our emotions, an honoring that takes place when we give them the space to operate. I know this is a high calling. This is a mountaintop work that we're doing here, releasing ourselves from the burdens of our expectations and our judgments. We truly do set ourselves free. And I just give thanks for that freedom that is expressing through each and every one of us right here and right now. I give thanks for this wide range of emotions that are moving into our experience. I give thanks for the willingness to say it's okay and allow them to be. And so knowing that this is complete, I simply release this word. Calling it good, I let it be. And so it is. Amen.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
Monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventurous in Faith on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details.
Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with spiritual soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.